And finally, we're on the fourth layer, which is about halfway through the entirety of the iceberg. How time flies, or I guess it doesn't, because you'd be able to tell that time is moving. If it was in the air, then you might be able to see it. So maybe it's walking, but then again, it's going by really fast. So maybe you just can't see it, so maybe it isn't. You know what? This doesn't matter. Anyways, as I said, we are halfway through the iceberg. And not only in terms of layers, but also in entries, as I did the counting, and there is just about half on, the first three, and then another half on the second three. Anyways, it's time to stop dilly-dallying, and time to just get right into this iceberg. Or this layer of the iceberg. Novelization of third live-action movie. Yes, the third movie of Kaiji, for whatever reason, did have a novelization. And I found the store page for it on Amazon thanks to u/Reseinen, and I checked if the author had written any other books based off of the other Kaiji movies, and at least from what I could find, no, they had not. They had only written this one, book, also because that's what it says on the iceberg. So, personally, I just think that's kind of strange. They just, write one book based off of it. Also, from what I could find, however, it does have new content, new games. These games being Tower of Babel, Last Judgment, Dream Jump, and Gold Jonkin. I'm not exactly sure if it means that these are new to the novel, or if it means they're new to the Kaiji franchise and they were included in the movie. I'm guessing it's that they're included in the movie and they're in the novel, but as I said, I don't really know. Also, I read a bit of the sample. Well, not really read, because I don't know Japanese. I just skimmed through it, and from what I could see from the sample, it does seem to have a thing that Fukumoto does where there's a entirely black page with white text saying something. So it's cool to see it in a normal book format too. So yeah, that's basically all I can really say about the novelization of the third live action movie. So on to the next one. Kaiji's reality show. Yeah, that's right. There was a Kaiji reality show. The prize money for the reality show was 100 million yen, though who knows how much it'd be after taxes. You had to be at least 18 to join, and the recruiting period was January 25th to March 18th in 2018. Also, the 100 million yen is roughly 700,000 in US dollars, though this was back in 2018, so it might be slightly different. Also, apparently, that jackpot was the biggest in the history of Japanese TV programs, so that's pretty cool. There was also a secondary prize, which I guess is not secondary. It's the same amount. You could also win 100 million yen just by watching. So basically, just a singular person of the many people watching it would get 100 million yen, which is kind of crazy to think about, that you just get it from watching. It also kind of sounds like something Mr. Beast would do. It was broadcasted by Abema TV, which is, basically just in the Japanese TV station. Also seems to have a streaming service. So yeah, that's the Kaiji reality show, so that's pretty cool. Life Reversal Battle Kaiji. Got, several people that were in debt, some in millions of yens of debt, which I don't remember how much that is in dollars, but it's still a lot. And they were fighting for a prize of about 2 million yen. So, they'd have to use that to pay off their debts. So, the lowest of these people was in debt of 150,000 yen, and the highest was in debt of 800 million yen. Which, remember, that other thing, 100 million is about half a million of US dollars. So, times that by 8, get like $4 million in debt, which is just absolutely crazy. Also, there were 12 debtors, and these people would all compete in several challenges based off of Kaiji, of course. The first being based off of the whole human derby part. I just want to say that this part is pretty scary. Like, just look at this picture. I mean, they probably had nets or like mats to catch them, whatever. But still, not something I would want to be doing. Although I guess I'm not hundreds of thousands or even millions of yen in debt, so I don't really have that desperation factor. The second game was where either red or blue cards were dealt, and then whichever card had the most votes, that group would continue on. But, votes, because they say being dealt, so I'm guessing people chose which card they wanted, and then whichever one had, the most people in it, they passed on. So, or they went through. Saying passed on makes it sound like they died, though if it was in Kaiji, then the losing group would actually be passing on. And on the third stage, there were only 4 people left, and it was a forced labor camp where they just made stuff like ballpoint pens. So, imagine basically winning as close to the lottery as you can, getting into this show, and then you pass the first few stages just for them to make you do forced labor. Like, I know it's part of Kaiji, but like, come on, dude. Anyways, the last game was called Pelika Sugoroku, where you had to land exactly on the last square of it. I'm not exactly sure how it was played, but I'm guessing they rolled some kind of dice or something. Like, when they land on a square, like they drew a card that would have the number of spaces they move. I don't know. But yeah, that's the last game. Ultimately, the winner of it was Fukuoda Takayoshi, who won 2 million from, the base prize, but something, I think, from the labor camp, they could also win extra money. So Fukuoda got another 3.5 million. So that's pretty cool. Also, his debt was 2.35 million yen, so due to how much he won, he should be out of debt. Then again, he was in 2.35 million yen in debt, so he might not have the best, money, handling. But then again, I might just be judging him, so. Well, let's just hope he's doing well now. Oh yeah, I'm not sure if they were chosen by the contestants or by the people organizing it or by the viewers, but the contestants had nicknames, and one of them's actual name was Kaiji Sawada, so his nickname was Real Kaiji. Now we just have to have a match between Real Akagi and Real Kaiji. It has to happen, come on. Kaiji 500th Chapter Celebration. This is, of course, referring to the 500th chapter, which is the 80th chapter of Part 4 of Kaiji. And during this, many different manga authors came together to draw their own versions of Kaiji as a celebration of Fukumoto reaching 500 chapters. So I'll be going over each one of those now. The first one reads out as, "Congratulations on 500. You did it, Fukumoto Sensei. Amazing!" And who was this drawn by? Well, none other than the artist of Ashita no Joe. Yeah, so that's pretty cool. And he's not the only boxing manga creator that drew one of these 500th chapter celebration images. So just wait around to see who else has drawn one of these. The next one reads out as, I've never met you outside of bars or parties, Fukumoto-sensei, but you're always on my mind. You control a part of my brain. It's written by none other than, well, if you're watching then you'll probably guess by the art style, the creator of Baki, which is pretty cool. And not what I was referring to when I was saying the boxing thing, but again, that's another fine manga, so that's pretty cool. The next one says, Fukumoto-sensei, congratulations on 500 chapters. Kaiji, I'm Urasawa Naoki, and I had this type of hairstyle too in the late 70s. And this one was drawn by the author of Monster, 20th Century Boys, and Billy Bat. And probably a lot more that I don't remember or just are forgetting to list. Naoki Urasawa. Yeah, he made a special drawing for the 500th chapter celebration, so that's pretty cool. This next one reads out as 500, baby! I just can't. I thought Fukumoto's art style was simple, but I just can't figure it out. Why? Fuku-chan's stories always give me the biggest thrills. Please keep my heart pumping. This mangaka has written several golf stories. Golf? Wonder if perhaps he could have had any influence on Fukumoto, or that one series he's made recently. Well, who knows? Though I definitely think that is a possibility. This next one reads out as, congratulations on 500 chapters of Kaiji. I tried to draw Kaiji, but I failed completely, so I gave up. Next time, let's go out for drinks. Treat me. Necessary. Whoa. Is the chin supposed to be sharp? Yeah, looking at this, I'm just kind of interested in seeing what the author has drawn Kaiji as. Sounds interesting. I just want to see what the failing completely is, I don't know. Also, they are the mangaka of Taberamasen. Hope I said that correct. I'm not exactly sure what the manga is about, but looking it up on Google and looking at some of the volume covers, it seems to be about food, so maybe. At least there's food on the covers, so maybe it's about cooking? I don't really know. Also, this mangaka has passed away. I don't know if any of the others had so far, because if they had, it hadn't shown up on the first few results on Google. So I guess I'll make sure to be more attentive in the next ones. This next one reads as, congratulations on making it to 500 chapters of Kaiji. Survive to 1,000 and 2,000 chapters. Now, I could definitely see Kaiji getting to 1,000 chapters, especially considering the fact that Fukumoto always seems to make a super large arc at the end of the series, and this is basically his longest running series ever. It's not basically, it is. There's none that have more volumes than it, so I don't see a way that it's probably gonna be at least as long as the Washizu arc, if not double. I mean, well, maybe not double, but it's gonna be pretty long. And the 2,000 chapters, I mean, I wouldn't be complaining, but I don't know if Fukumoto has that in him, especially for what would probably be one arc. Or, though I guess if he really wanted to, he could put in a few other games there, maybe Kaiji fights some new people or some old people. Could also be showing what happens to Kaiji after he leaves from Japan, but I just don't see it getting to 2,000 chapters. This mangaka is named Kariyama Masayuki, and I searched him up online, and it says under his name on a website that one of his published manga is Akagi, which of course Fukumoto made that, so maybe he was an editor or not, an assistant to him. What I do know for certain though is he made the manga Mancho Sumo Kuratetsu, or Kuratsu, or I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce it, but he did make that one. And once again, thank you to u/Reseinen for helping me find that out, as I wasn't able to find it during an earlier edit of this video. Anyways, the next one says, congratulations on 500 chapters of the Kaiji series. This art was drawn by Kawaguchi Kaiji. So, another Kaiji. And he has worked on a series called Saizan Life, and has actually collaborated with Fukumoto before. So, that's pretty interesting. The next one says, the Kaiji series got to 500 chapters. Congratulations, 500 chapters. You've just kept writing super interesting stories, Fukumoto-sensei. It's very, very amazing. We'll be anxiously watching to see how Kaiji-kun fights and whether he makes it out alive for many more chapters to come. This drawing was made by the group Clamp, who you've probably heard of before, as they've made many series. And just to name a couple of them, these series include things such as Magic Knight Reseinen and Cardcaptor Sakura. But from what I saw, it seems like they've made like dozens. So this next one says, will Kaiji or Akagi end first? Let's make this a gamble too. Congratulations. Wait, you're already at 500 chapters? I've been reading since the days of Wani. Fukumoto-san's someone I could really fall in love with. They call me the dazzling commander. Kurosawa is my favorite. So yeah, the guy who drew this one was trying to rizz up Fukumoto mid-congratulations. Also, as for what Wani is, I could not find any manga of Fukumoto's named Wani, but there is one named Wani no Hatsukoi, so, I mean, I'm pretty sure that's it. And it's a love story that was like one of his first ones he made. Like, I think it was in 1983, so it's the first few years of his career. So this author has been reading Fukumoto's works for a long time. As for the manga that they created, it was named Akapoli. This next one says, congratulations on the big 500. I even like the Idiots in the Helmets arc. Since you always treat me, maybe you should try treating me. Also, the Idiots in the Helmet arc is just it's just crazy, dude. But I mean, I guess it's not exactly a wrong description of that whole arc. This author created a story called Mainichi Kasan, or Everyday Mom in English. This next one says, congratulations on 500. I drew my own backgrounds up until the second volume too, which I looked up and I couldn't find anything about that. But now it is kind of interesting if, Fukumoto just stopped drawing them and had like assistants draw them. Plus, it's really rather understandable considering all the stuff he would already have to draw. And I'm guessing it's true, because, why would you just randomly lie about that on a congratulations of someone? That just doesn't make sense. So, that's a interesting tidbit. This mangaka created Tokuo no Shima, and I looked online, and the art looks pretty good, so, yeah, on to the next one. This one says, Fukumoto-san's a cool guy, and it's drawn by the creator of Initial D, which is like a car racing manga, so that's pretty cool. This next one says, Fukumoto Nobuyuki-sensei, your name's really good for making a Buddhist blessing. All the characters in your name are in it. It says, which, I don't exactly know how that translates with like the blessing and stuff, because I'm not I can't read Japanese. So it also says, may your 500 Kaiji chapters live long through Tankobon, and Kaiji Hirokane style. The mangaka here is responsible for creating the Shima Kosaku series, which is a long-running series about like a guy who works in a company, and he works his way up the ranks and up the ladder, getting promotions and stuff like that. which sounds pretty interesting, but, you know, guess what? It's not in English, so. Though there have been people online who have translated it kind of like, you know, with a lot of basically every other manga, so. If you want to read it, I think you can read like part 1 of it, because it is split into multiple parts. And this one says, congratulations on 500 chapters. It's the 4th batter for young magazine, Kaiji. Show us your home runs in full force swing for a long time to come. Nanashima of Suna no Ikan Kaiji style. So of course that's talking about like 4th batter, like the 4th part. And the creator and the mangaka that drew this image created Suna no Ikan, which, as you've probably guessed due to all the baseball references, is a baseball manga. So, yeah, on to the next one. Konzawa-lations on 500 chapters. I'll be looking forward to even more Zawa-tastic moments from Fukumoto-sensei. And I'm guessing that probably sound better in Japanese than in English, because Konzawa-lations doesn't sound, you know, as good, but I don't know. Anyways, this author made Naniwa Tomoar, I don't know how to say it, which, from what I can tell, seems to be a delinquent manga. This one says, Grats on 500 chapters of Kaiji. We first met 30 years ago, and both of us are still drawing manga. Huh. Wonder if you'll still be doing this at 100, which, you know, to be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if he does. Like, Fukumoto has been drawn for a long time. Also, when I first saw the little character on the bottom left, I thought that was Kuwabara from Yu Yu Hakusho, but I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be the author. This mangaka created Dr. Saotome, which, upon first hearing, you might think it's about like doctors doing stuff in the hospital, but it's apparently about like a mad scientist who does like what needs to be done to get whatever he wants to be done, which I know it kind of sounds confusing, but it's like he's willing to do anything to get what he wants. It's kind of what it said online, so yeah. And now, you know, earlier I was talking about the boxing mangas. Yeah, this also was created by a mangaka who created a boxing manga. None other than Morikawa George, who's created Hajime no Ippo, probably just like the most popular boxing manga. I mean, Ashita no Joe is pretty popular, but I don't know. I'd say probably based off of like pure just being known by people, Hajime no Ippo is probably more known, though I may be wrong. Anyways, it says, congratulations on 500 chapters. Fukumoto-sensei, congratulations on chapter 500. It doesn't seem like even this monumental number is anything more than just another checkpoint to you. Please give us lots of fun manga to read from here on as well. And the image that he drew is rather cursed. So, especially how he drew the coach. Anyways, on to the next one, which is it's a bit weird. It says, to think you made it to 500 chapters in a seinen magazine without drawing any other one. Papa Fukumoto, you're a real mangaka. And it shows an image that I'm not exactly sure if I should show on YouTube, so just might censor some of it, I don't know. But anyways, the creator of this made Homunculus. You may have heard about it before, I'm guessing you have, but yeah, it's about like a guy who, from what I remember, he gets like a bit of his skull drilled into, then it gives him like the power to see something that normal people wouldn't be able to. I don't exactly remember what it is. And finally, the last drawing is by Wakui Ken, the creator of Shinjuku Swan, and it just simply says, Grats, 500 chapters, with a pretty good picture of Kaiji. So yeah. As far as I know, that's about it for drawings made in the 500 chapter celebration. I also don't know if like anything else was done. I'm guessing this was at least probably the most notable thing done during that. So yeah, on to the next entry in the iceberg. Kaiji app. This entry is referring to several Kaiji mobile games that have been created. And at first glance, I thought it was going to be like some kind of social media platform, like a Kaiji Twitter. But no, it's like some games. But I would not be surprised if something like that happens, because based off of some of the other entries on this layer, you know, Kaiji is kind of like the real life Krusty the Clown in the way that just markets like every possible thing. Though he's also very financially irresponsible, so character-wise, they're also pretty similar. Who wins, Kaiji or Krusty the Clown? Anyway, the first game of these Kaiji apps is a slot game called Kaiji Casino Slot, and its graphics kind of look like an early 2000s game, which got put on Steam and is sold at half price. Anyways, the next one is Kaiji Life Reversal Electric Steel Beam Crossing, which is where I guess you try to like balance Kaiji to get him to like walk to the other side of the beam, and in this you collect Perica, which will of course be used as money, and with that money you can buy several different characters such as Hyodo or Ishida. Also, you can buy a random black suit for 20 million Perica, which I think is a bit too much, like it's just a random black suit. It should be probably the lowest, if anything. Future Erff here, it was 10 million Perica, but the point still stands. However, these new characters don't seem to just be like aesthetic change. They also do seem to have better balance than the ones before them. So that's pretty cool. And also, when you die in this game, you can spend Perica to revive. And that's about it for this game. And finally, there's this game, which is just, I don't know. Can't exactly find much about it, but it's another Kaiji game. Kaiji's Financial Advice Book. Yeah, that's right. Someone wrote a financial advice book. They used Kaiji, of all people, as, advertising. Like, it's not exactly who I think of when I think of, being good at finances, or someone that would have good financial advice. But someone wrote a book about it. And the name of that author is Taichi Kogure. I'm not sure if this person worked with Fukumoto on this. I don't think they did, because I can't see any other credits for Fukumoto on the Amazon listing, though. You never know. It's different language, so it might just... Plus, it's kind of obscure. But as far as I know, and just assuming, I do not think Fukumoto had any input on this book. Or I guess I should say series, because it's not just one book. There's 3 of them. It's a trilogy. Gonna use, auto-translate for this, but should hopefully be good. The first one is Kaiji, Money is More Important Than Life. The second is called Kaiji, Win When You Deserve to Win. A talk about working style, whatever that means. And the final is called Kaiji, Rising from Rock Bottom, A Story of Life. Also, in the description of it, it says that the Kaiji Economics series is actually a best-selling series, so I guess apparently people think that Kaiji would have good financial advice. Checking the ratings for these books, they're actually pretty good, hovering just right about 4 stars, so I don't know, maybe they're actually really helpful, but who knows? I can't read Japanese, and I don't know if the auto-translate would work on the Japanese in the book, so I don't know. Tonigawa Cat House. There is a house that looks like, Tonegawa doing the dogaza on, the burning grill in front of Kaiji, but it's, for a cat. I don't know if this was something that was a piece of merchandise or if it was like something that someone made themselves. But if it was a piece of merchandise, it would add more to the theory that Kaiji's like the real life Krusty the Clown, or the Kaiji franchise, I should say. Kaiji exhibition with Tonagawa, Kaiji, and the narrator's voice actors. So, a few months ago, as of recording, anyways, there was a Kaiji exhibition where, the voice actors for Tonagawa, Kaiji, and the narrator, of course, were there to talk about some stuff, as you could tell by the entry name. Of course, there's lots of other interesting stuff that was there other than just that. One of those was this. As you can see, it's like the grill that Tonagawa's on. I'm not exactly sure, but I'm assuming it was like one of those things where you could pose, so people probably did a dogaza on there and just took a picture pretending they're getting burned. You could also play Shinro, the one from the underground labor facility that he played against Utsuki. And if you win in that, then you can actually win Perica. So, and it says that you can use it when you eventually go to the underground labor facility yourself. So, in case any of you are planning that, well, I guess it's too late now, but you might be able to find some if you buy it online, which I guess is technically the kind of only reason you'd even actually use it would be to sell it or use it as a collectible. Yeah. But, I don't know. Let's just moving on. There was a black suit discount where if you arrive there at 4 p.m. or after 4 p.m. on a Sunday wearing black clothing and black sunglasses, then they'd actually give you 100 yen discount on like the tickets and stuff. So that's pretty interesting and also kind of funny. I think it would have been interesting to be there on a Sunday, see all the people just walking around in black suits. Imagine there's like someone started yelling, like imagine someone outside it was in trouble and they ran inside to try to get security, then just ran into like a bunch of people wearing black suits and black glasses, and they're like, oh, this person must be security, right? And then they're like, oh no, this is just some random guy, and then they were looking around for security to help them with whatever. I thought that would be funny. Anyways, they were also selling a lot of merch, like that Kaiji dog shirt, and another game you could play was the tissue box raffle, where if you buy something and you win the raffle, then like forget if you get it free or you get it at a discount. It was one of those, which is pretty cool. They also sold a game there called Kaiji Turnaround Pile Driver, which is like a mix of like adding Kaiji into like some Japanese game, like some Japanese board game or something like that. It looks kind of similar to Mahjong. I'm not exactly sure how it works though. They also sold, food or I guess concessions there that looked like that was in model of some of the food that was eaten in the Kaiji story, such as like the food he ate when in the underground labor camp, for example. And here's another interesting thing they had there. There's interactive comics, which was basically, I guess the best way to explain it would be kind of like Telltale, except Kaiji. So it's you choose decisions, and depending on the decisions, different things happen. And there's one of E-Card, so that's pretty cool. And it says there's like a special ending you could only get at the venue. There's also a link to a website that I think was supposed to have like the game on there, but I checked it and it didn't seem to, at least from what I could find. So yeah, I'm probably missing some things, but other than that, well, I guess Fukumoto, of course, went to the Kaiji exhibition, and there's some pictures of him there with a real life bog, so that's pretty cool. Kaiji's Fujoshi audience. This entry is referring to, of course, as previous mentioned in like I think the third layer, his audience, they like shipping the characters together, and a Fujoshi, in case you don't know, is basically someone that is a woman who likes male on male pairings. So this is just kind of more on that, and because there's a lot of those people in the audience. Kaiji impersonator. This entry is referring to this Kaiji impersonator who has made several videos of him impersonating Kaiji, playing different games that I don't know if they were ones that he created or if it was just something that he thought would make for a funny video, but he does seem to be pretty good at it, as you can see here.
イカカツアイ。ああ、はしょった。そう。こっちだ。どうしてだよ。はまったな、二度も。まだだよ。三度目は引かせねえ。さっき俺はあろうことか祈ってしまった。何も考えず神頼み。救ってくれ。俺を助けてくれだと。早く引いてくれよ。もう頼るものなどないと。骨身に染みて分かっていたはずなのに。引かなきゃダメなんだ。引いてやるさ。どっちだ。見えた。こっちだ。来たキングのダブル。神様ありがとうございます。祈ってるじゃん。俺は金持ち、世界一の金持ちだ。
At least in my opinion, he does seem to do like all the mannerisms and stuff pretty well, so I think that's pretty good. And also, there's this kind of theater thing he did where he was standing a bunch of people and had a few references to other animes. I'm not sure if it was like some kind of sponsored thing. I'm guessing it wasn't, but that was pretty cool too. He was also involved in the whole vasectomy ordeal, which is something we'll get into on the 6th layer. Kaiji perfume / diffuser. Yes, out of the many things that Fukumoto has franchised out, perfume is one of them, and I don't know if there's any others other than just Tobacco Moko Shiroku perfume, but there is at least that. There's also diffuser, and there's another fun fact is like marine woody, I think it was what I saw the scent was. I don't know what that is, but apparently that's the scent. Also, when I searched up what does Kaiji perfume smell like, one of the suggested results was what does Kaiji perfume taste like. I don't know if there's just something about this perfume, or if that's just a commonly searched thing when talking about perfume, or if do people drink perfume, because I don't think that's what it's supposed to be used for. But yeah, Kaiji perfume. Pachinko bunny girls. Yeah, so in some of the Kaiji pachinko machines, there's bunny girls who provide I don't know, they just talk over the thing, and apparently you can fight them in a bumping butts battle, which will be a bit further discussed on a later layer. I would think that having the clashing art styles would probably take people out of the whole pachinko thing, like the experience, but then again, they're watching an anime when playing pachinko, so I guess there's probably not that immersion already to begin with anyway. Kaiji 3D models. This entry is referring to some Kaiji 3D models that are from a pachinko game. Kaiji NFTs. Yeah, that's right. Out of the tons of stuff that's been licensed, of course one of them had to be NFTs. I'm not exactly sure how many there are, but there are some, and there seems to be, at least from what I could find, 5 that you can buy. Is one of Kaiji, of Tonagawa, Otsuki, Hyodo, and the Black Suits. I'm not exactly sure if these are the NFTs, because normally with NFTs, from what I've heard, it was they auto-generate stuff. But it says buy NFT right on this website, so they're next to them on the website, so I don't see where else the NFTs would be. And the last entry for this layer of the iceberg is Kaiji Vapes. Yeah, that's right. Not only is there NFTs for Kaiji, there's also licensed vapes. One person on like a Reddit post talking about it said, "Now you can have the smell of desperation anywhere you or everywhere you go." Another person wrote like an entire like kind of like skit written like the same style the narrator talks in. So I guess if I ever need to worsen my life, I know where to go. And with that ends the fourth layer of the Kaiji Iceberg.